Today we're going to take a little break from the GY6 go-karts and I'm going to work on this Odyssey here. I picked this up relatively recently and I got it for a pretty good price. You can see here it's been kind of molested a bit. When I got it, it would run. It was pull start only, and you can see here that it didn't last long, so it's been sitting for a little bit of time. So today I want to try to get in here and swap out the starter, fix the pull start, and kind of go through and see if I see anything. I've noticed kind of some bolts missing here and there. Goal just to get it running. We've got a party coming up, so enjoy it for a little while, see how it goes. I went ahead and set up some tools here. I like these little portable work tables. They're nice to just kind of set up a table wherever you need real quick. But I ordered some parts through Odd ATV. These are my gaskets here. He left me a little note. This has my pull start cover gasket and a transmission gasket for when I get into my long travel. I got a starter through Amazon, clutch puller tool, some pull rope. I went ahead and picked up a starter solenoid. I'm not sure if I'll need it yet, but I figure it'll be nice to have. And I ordered a new tube for the pull rope as well. So in terms of other tools, it should just be basic sockets and things like that. Little side note, you can see my hand. I trashed my hand working on the trails. I was pulling on something and I felt this pain inside my hand, and I'm good doing this, but once I get right here, I don't have any squeezing strength. So I've got a slight handicap today, but we're not gonna let this hold us back. So I'm thinking I'm gonna start with the air box, get that off, and then that'll give us good access to see what we got. It looks like I'm gonna have to pull up this Audi Cool too. Okay, these look like 10s, and they are. Okay, what's holding us up here? Looks like a flathead up in there. You can see right up under. They don't make that easy to get to. So I'm guessing this air box is going to come off now. Let's see. Yep. Let's go ahead and pull the exhaust off, or the muffler. Looks like there's just 2 bolts underneath holding that on now. I just found something super funny. They took some wood. This is hilarious. They took some wood to shim that boot up. Unbelievable. I mean, I guess it worked, but I can't say I've ever seen that. I'm not sure why they did that. Wow, look at that. That whole hose is compressed. Like, this is all kinked up right here. Man, that makes me feel like something shady's going on here. Good news is I don't see any tears on this intake boot. There's like just random hoses stuck down here. Our fuel system looks like this is where it's pulling fuel out. You got your shut off here, so you're pulling fuel out of there. It comes up to here, which there is a filter right here, and so it comes into here. So this is your fuel in on your pump, then the fuel comes out here which looks like it recirculates back into the tank and goes to our inlet of our carburetor. And then this line, I'm assuming, is just vacuum for the pump itself, for it to work. Okay, so that makes sense. You can see we're missing a bolt here. This looks kind of crooked, so I'll have to, once we get more things out, we can kind of look at that. Probably going to go ahead and change the belt as well while we're in this, because this belt just, I'll have to do a little research, but it's rubbing on this half shaft of this axle. So I don't think that's right. And then this is all just wiring it looks like they added for this Audi cool. So I'm not sure, they didn't run any wire loom or anything. So we'll try to make sense of that too. This should be just a pretty simple relay. Okay, so we're gonna pull this Audi cool stuff off. I'm gonna do this left hand because my hand, if you really want to test yourself, do this stuff left-handed. So unnatural. Okay. They ran some little Phillips head screws to hold the fan controller on. That's pretty funny. She works though. Looks like they had a ground. Check out that ground they had. You know, we probably should go ahead and unhook power. Man, these like anti-slip screwdrivers with these serrations in them, they make a world of difference. I'm really surprised this battery's not dead. Hopefully I can just pull that through. Just trying to slide this boot back to give us some more room to pull this through. Okay, so there's all of our Audi cool stuff. We just got to take, I'm guessing those are 17. 16 it is. Yeah, these were not even tight. It almost seems like someone just slapped, yeah, look at that. Someone just slapped this thing together real quick just to get it running. And now we got some more room. So yeah, you can see, I might clean this hoses up too. This just is kind of my OCD how this is ran. But first, I'm gonna pull this, probably this carb off. Instead of pulling off here, I'm going to pull this line off just because my hand to make it easier. We're going to make sure the fuel's shut off, which it is. Yeah, that says off. Oh, that came off easy. Okay, now the throttle cable should just twist off. Alright, so I'm just going to take a paper towel and wrap this up. There's no need to take it off, and I don't want to damage it. Looks like our carb should be ready to come out. Phillips head there, and we can just pull this out. You can see the carb looks like it's sitting crooked too. Or it should be level. Looks like it's sitting to the left. Alright, there's our carb. Okay, so we've got our carb off. We're going to clean that out. I'm going to clean up some of these fuel lines. But before I go any further, I really want to make sure the starter's bad and there's not something else going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check the starter. I was calling it the solenoid, but it looks like the diagrams call it a relay. So what you have is, we unhooked our battery, which we're going to hook back up, but this is the battery side. So we've got 12 volt coming from the battery, which comes into this relay. And then, so this is a relay, right? So it switches on and off. And the way it switches on and off, there's two wires coming right here. It looks like a yellow and a green. And from what I've gathered is the yellow's ignition side, and then the green's what they call the change switch side. So I'm assuming that's the neutral safety switch. So the ignition, it seems like the ignition sends 12 volts here, and when it's in neutral, it's got it completes the circuit, gives it a ground, and then activates this relay, which sends 12 volts to the starter. Is how I'm understanding that. Now, I'm not a wiring expert, but this is kind of where I'm at this point. We're going to check it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook up my multimeter on this side of the relay, which you can trace your wire. This comes down to the starter, and I'm going to hook the battery back up, turn the ignition, and make sure I'm getting 12 volts on this side. If I'm not, what I'll do is we're going to have to diagnose from there. So there is a fuse here which seems to run in line, which we can actually check that real quick. Let's see how this thing comes off. The thing about these, working on these, is everything is so fragile. Okay. What we got there? We got a spare fuse, it looks like, in here. Which, this looks good. Okay, so our fuse looks good. If you see there, if the fuse was not good, that would be broke. So we should have good voltage there. Just checking, making sure there's nothing else weird going on. Alright, so we'll pop our spare back in there, which is pretty cool. They give you a little spot for a spare. Honda was thinking with that. Okay, so we've eliminated that as a problem. And if you're just testing your starter, I would start here. I wouldn't worry about doing what I did here with removing the carb. I'm just doing that because I want to clean it anyways. You know, you'd want to start here at this solenoid, and it'd be your easiest way to get there. So let's hook our battery up, get our multimeter, and check this out and see what happens. Alright, so we've got our multimeter set up here. Let's check our voltage on our battery. Wow, we've actually got 12 volts. Alright, so we're connected on the starter side of the solenoid. I just ran my negative to the battery. I just thought it was easier without having hands here. We've got our multimeter right here. Let's see, we gotta turn this on run. Okay. You can hear it actually click. And something just happened because now we're not. There we go. Okay, so that seems to be working fine. So that tells us that everything's functioning properly there. Just for curiosity's sake, I put it in reverse, and I did that because I noticed this going on here, which I think this is our neutral safety, and it looks like there's some electrical tape, so I'm guessing someone bypassed something. So let's see if we get 12 volts here. We do not. So okay, that worked there. Let's try it again because it didn't click at first. Yeah, so neutral safety works. Okay. All right, so this is not something that you always want to do, but let's just see if we give this starter a little smack. If it's maybe locked, seized up. See what happens. just for curiosity's sake. All right, nope. Okay, so I think best case scenario would have been the starter relay, because that would have been the easiest to fix, but we've got the starter, so we'll pop the new one in. All right, so I went and pulled the new starter out, and looks like we've got a couple of points where this thing may mount. Looks like there's two posts here, which if you see down there, that's missing a bolt. So there's another bolt missing. And then looks like on the other side here, we've got a couple of bolts. So I could try to fight around the fuel tank, but it just seems kind of pointless. I say we go ahead and pull this fuel tank out, because we need to get to the pull start anyways. Okay, let's pull this fuel tank off. So first thing is, this looks like this is original, which look at that hose clamp. Wow, it's not even tight. That could have been a vacuum leak. So we'll pull that off, get that out of the way. This all seems like it could come out all together. And it seems like we could run this T, like really clean this up. You can see our lines are split here too. So this needs some love. I might go ahead and clean up this tank. We'll undo this. We don't want that to get damaged. Okay, so these look like 10s. So are these 10s too? Yep. You can see here we'll have to get figure out something to put some kind of bushing on there. And this is some kind of aftermarket. I hope they just ram that in there. Yeah, you can see they're different thread pitches. So the threads on our bracket are probably trashed. I'll go ahead and remove this too. These look like 12s. Yep, those are loose. Those are loose too. Okay, so we've got a 10 up here too. Looks like there should be a bolt here. Hopefully you can see that, which is not in there. So I think the only thing holding this on now is, that right there. So let's get this out of our way. Okay, these are actually tight. Got my knee under here just so this thing doesn't want to fall. Okay, fuel tank is loose. I'm hoping we can snake this through, which I'm thinking we can. It's tight. It's like right there. What are we hitting? Oh, there we go. Success! Swing! Okay, before we go any further, we're just going to clean this out. I'm just going to spray some brake cleaner and give everything a wipe. I could have pressure washed, but with this being older, I didn't want to tear anything or rip any boots or anything. So I'm just doing it the hard way here. Alright, so now that we're in here and we did a quick little clean, first thing I noticed is this cover right here is cracked. So that's a nice find. Second thing is the pull start cover That looks like that's broke. I'm just going to go ahead and pull this off. These look like maybe 8 or 6 millimeters. They are an 8. One over here. This one looks like it has a ground wire on it. Okay, there we go. There you go, there's our case is broke. And this has oil in it. Okay, so we've got some kind of skid plate here blocking the clutch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try taking this one bolt off to see if that gives us enough clearance to get to that. Which it looks like it does. Okay, so I hooked up a little swivel on here, and this was a 3/4 inch, which I'm probably going to pull, assuming the threads here aren't messed up. I think I can pull the nut off my other one. So we're going to try to get this off here. Okay, that's doused in some grease. So now we're going to use our tool, which I think will just thread into this and pull the clutch itself off, is how I understand this works. I've never done this before, so I think they put a whole tube of grease in here. I can't even get the tool in. Okay, that feels snug now. Let's give her a shot. I'm just gonna hold this. Man, that thing is on there. I got my impact on max. I'm afraid I'm gonna break some threads. So far we don't look like we're taking any threads out. I think I might take some PB blaster and spray up in there. But there's just so much grease caked up in there, I don't know if it's really gonna do anything. I'm gonna take the the extensions off my impact. This is my smaller impact. I don't think I need the big dog, but there we go. Looks like taking the extensions off did it. Well, hallelujah. I was afraid that was going to get ugly. Alright, looks like we are going to have to take our skid plate off. Alright, so we're going to jack this up and take this skid plate off under here. So we're going to get our clutch off, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the balancer oil. Looks like this skid plate's all one piece here. Yeah, so that's where I can't jack up on that. Let's do this. It's not normally what I would do, but if this thing falls off jack stands, it's not going to kill me. It's going to hurt, but it's not going to kill me. Okay, so let's get this skid plate off. Looks like these are all 12s. No, this one's not. It's like mix and match bolts everywhere. So all 12 besides, I think we got 110 up here, and then this might be a, could probably get that off with a 13. Here's our skid plate. Let's see if our clutch comes off now. How is that not coming off? Maybe this belt's holding it on? Looks like the belt's catching on this cover. Okay, now our belt comes out. And I think this belt was way too long. Doesn't have any numbers on it. Let's see if this clutch will come out now. Holy crap. That was in there tight. Okay, this right here looks to be our starter bracket, which you can see here we're missing 1, 2 bolts. So I'll rob those from the other engine. I'm guessing these are 8s. Alright, so I can't seem to get this one off, so I'm going to try to clean this off because none of my sockets are fitting on there. Mine's too big. And an 8's not fitting. This looks like this might be a problem. Alright, so I'm going to try some pliers because I just don't feel great about how these sockets are fitting. Oh, I wish I had squeezing strength. Man, that's going to strip. See if we can get some pliers on here. Negative. Ha! That's amazing right there. I loosened it by moving the bracket. That's hilarious. All right. Success. The starter should come out now. All right, so at this point, I've got the bracket to the starter off, got the clutch off, and I thought the starter was coming out, but now I'm realizing that the brake rotor's in the way. I had to pause on this project, and I basically just zip tied this up temporarily, so when I pushed it back into place, it wasn't rubbing on this rotor. But it's amazing how much you have to remove to get this off. So you can see here, it's definitely going to have to come off. So I'm thinking I'll just loosen these 4 bolts, which are 14s, and then I can just pull it off to the side and then pull this out, and then I'll slide the new one in. And I'm just going to rob my hardware from the other Odyssey because I was missing bolts. And we'll reassemble, and hopefully it'll, get her all together, and hopefully it'll fire up. Crossing my fingers here. Almost loose. So now we're gonna have to take the caliper off. So I don't think we can just pull this. No, we're gonna have to pull this caliper off. So it looks like if we pop those 2 bolts off, we can just pull the caliper away, and then hopefully our rotor will slide out. Okay, let's see if our starter will come out. Okay, it looks like we can get our starter out. Let's pull starter up. Looks like a 10mm. You can see that guessing something's failed there. You can see how clunky that is. Let's check our new one. It looks like these generic starters, they just like adapt this flange piece. You see how there's that opening and there's like an opening inside the starter? Same right here. Just a threaded opening. It looks like it goes right down in the starter. Okay, let's pop our bracket in here. I stuck it in the vise. It was a little tweaked, so I stuck it in the vise and straightened it up. So the threads feel a little sticky on this, so I was just hand turning this first. I just didn't want to start cranking on it and strip out the threads. Okay, those are all feeling good. And I'm not going to tighten these all the way until I get the other side on. Before we reassemble the recoil start, I'm going to go ahead and clean this gasket area. I'm just getting this out of my way for right now. So I'm just making sure I'm working my way around and making sure that the gasket is lining up. So now this back one had this is the one that had our ground on it. Okay, so I'm just going to pull this back, make sure our gasket's all lined up. Which everything looks good. Just makes it really hard when the gaskets are all bent up because they want to fall away from the surface. Okay, let's hook up power to our starter. Our connector here is a little tweaked up, so I like these pliers. I love these pliers, this style. One thing I like about them is they're good for like straightening stuff like this. You just squeeze them and then they straighten, and they're smooth so they don't, you know, mess up the surface. But I was originally planning on running all this like factory and around, because these Niche brand, these aftermarket starters, the connection for the positive's facing down. So it looks like they did this to give a little more room to extend the wire. And I was thinking about rerunning something, but I don't think I am, because I'm probably going to end up pulling this motor out eventually and redoing the frame. So this is going to be fine for now. I'm just going to keep everything how it was and run this down this way. Okay, we're going to hook up this power wire. This is really tight for me. All right, that's tight enough. All right, so let's just slide our boot over if we can. Get stuff in our eyes. Okay, let's give this a bump and make sure this starter works. There shouldn't be, I know we got everything torn apart here. I just want to make sure this works before I get too far. I just pulled, the only thing I seen was I pulled this out of the intake tube because I didn't want it to suck in. So let's see what happens. So I got ignition on. I got it in neutral. We've got it on run. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All right. Let's check and drive. Nada. I think it's not going in gear. Alright. That's super weird. I think it's just sticking in neutral, or in like it wasn't, because the tires were bound up, wouldn't go into back into neutral. Alright, cool.